And here we are, my little Muppets. You'll note that the rib cage has been satin stitched. The snout has been satin stitched. His nose has been done. The details and the eyes are done. And we've got this die line for the brain. So grab yourself some pink fabric. Let's see, maximizing usage of fabric. We're gonna lay it like that. You can tape it down. You can do a little bit of 505. You can pin it, or you can just float it. Back in a minute. And there we go, guys, our zigzag stitch, letting us know where to applique cut. Once again, paddle over the stitches to protect the stitches. Go slow, you don't have to hurry it. You want to cut as close to the stitches as possible without actually cutting the stitches. You might want to pull your excess fabric out and away from your stitch line a little bit. You turn your scissors, or you turn your work, not your scissors, except that this time, guys, I'm having to stay in camera and bend over at a weird angle and keep my head out of the frame and rub my tummy, pat my head, stand on one leg, and wish into the wind. But all that being said, looks like I'm getting it done. I'm kind of impressed with myself. All right, so once we get this applique stitch done, we're gonna throw it back in the machine. It's gonna do the cortical lines, the red veins in the brain. And then we're gonna go ahead, that's step 16. Then 17 is the satin stitch around it. And 17 is also the placement lines outside the body for the appendages. So I'm gonna go ahead and run 16 and 17, back in a minute. Okay, so here's where the super fun part starts. We're gonna start attaching the appendages. The first appendage that we are going to attach is his ear. So you'll notice I've got this arc line, okay? It says number 1, the ear is the first thing we place. We're gonna lay the ear so that the good side is down on top of the good side of the bear. And we want that arc line to match up as far as degree of arc goes with the bear, but we want it about 1/4 of an inch outside the bear line. You'll also notice I've got placement stitches right here and right here, letting you know the ear needs to go between this line and this line. So we are going to line up at the top. We're gonna line up at the bottom, and we're gonna twist. You can't really see this, and I would take and move the camera down here so you could see it, but it's kind of dark and I can't hold a flashlight, an ear, and a camera at the same time. So you're gonna have to trust me that this arc right here is on the outside by about 1/4 of an inch. There we go. We're aligned up left and right. You'll notice I didn't stuff my ear. You don't really have to stuff the ear, okay? And now I am going to pin, but I'm gonna make sure that my pins do not cross this stitch line so that my needle never comes anywhere close to my pins. All right, and I'm gonna pin it all the way through, okay, the stabilizer too. And then I'm gonna take a pin and I'm going to hold the ear in place from the top with a second pin going through the stabilizer and the ear. All right, so when I put it on the machine, that stitch line is gonna go right there, lock and stop. It won't hit either one of those pins. All right, that is step 18. 18 sews on your ear. Back in a minute. Okay, so my ear is tacked down and I'm gonna remove my pins. See? See? Isn't that cute? Okay, now I'm going to do the first paw, and this should be paw number 2. Paw number 2. Second verse, same as the first. You want to use your guidelines here. Put the pretty side of the paw down on the pretty side of your bear, line up on the top and the bottom with your stitch lines, and make sure that your arc is about 1/8 of an inch to 1/4 of an inch outside jabea. Just like that. Oh, hey, look, I forgot a step. You notice my paw's not stuffed. So scratch that, grab some fiberfill, stuff your paw. See, this is what happens when you're doing like 9 things at once and you forget that this is the important one. Stuff your paw. Now here's the thing. I know we all want nice, puffy, stuffy things, but if you stuff your paws too much, that's going to put a lot of bulk in the middle of your bear, and it's going to be hard for your embroidery machine to sew all the way around. So you want some puffiness to your appendages, but you don't want them sausage stuffed. All right, so that feels like a good amount of fiberfill, and I'm going to stuff it all the way to the bottom. Once the bear's done, I can roll it back and forth and get it closer to the seam line, but I don't want my needle to have to go through a lot of fiberfill. So back to placement, we're gonna make sure that we're there on that side, we're there on that side. We're gonna grab a pin. We're gonna pin our paw way, way, way outside the bear's body. And be careful, because remember, you got some vinyl there that you're gonna have to go through. There we go, we're outside the body. And now I'm gonna come in and just one little pin right up here to hold my paw in place. Gonna make sure that I stay far, far, far away from anywhere my needle wants to go. And on this, my needle is only gonna trace the body. Okay, it's gonna go right there. Just throw it in the machine, and this is gonna be step 19. Voila and done. I'm gonna pull my pins. It's time for appendage number 3. Where's appendage number 3? There's appendage number 3. Now, when I place 3 with the stitch line on the outside, left and right, you notice I'm bucking up against this paw. So what I'm gonna do is temporarily pull this paw back and pin him. Ooh, I'm out of frame. All right, I need a wide angle lens. Hopefully it'll make me look thinner too. I'm just gonna temporarily pin this paw back out of the way. Come on. Okay, he's out of the way. Now we're gonna place, remember, squish, squish, squish. We're gonna place paw number 3. There's my top line. There's my bottom line. My arc is outside. I'm gonna pin way outside my stitch line. There we go. Gonna squish my fiberfill out of the way. Grab another pin and just kind of pin that down so it's not hanging up in the way, and our stitch line will go right there. So let's do color stop 20 to tack down that paw. Okay, kids, we're gonna pull our pins. We're gonna flip our paw back so he's out of the way. We're just gonna throw enough of a pin in it to hold it back. We don't have to worry about it needs to be placed perfectly, blah, 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 so that we can do, oh, I've lost my paws. Paw number 4. Paw number 4 with all kinds of stuff hanging off of it. Remember, when you stuff your paw, you want to give it somebody to love, but you don't want it to be all bulky, because all this crap has to be stuffed into the body. All right, so 4 goes there. We're gonna flip it over. We're gonna align it with the bottom line, follow the arc about 1/4 to 1/8 of an inch away, line it with the top one. There we go. we're gonna grab a pin. Where did I put my pins? There are my pins. Okay, we're gonna pin it so that it's out of the way of the stitch path. You wanna go through your stabilizer. There we go. And don't forget, you probably wanna throw another pin in it right about here to try and get it to lay flat and out of the way of your needle head. Woo, there we go. All right, there we go. We're gonna stitch right there. Back in a minute. Okay, folks, there she blows. Boom, done. All right, you should be getting used to the routine by now. Grab paw 5, make sure it's got some stuffing in it. Pull back paw 4, get it clear of, you know, your stitch path and get it out of the way of trying to get your paw 5 to lay correctly. Just throw a little pin in it down here just to hold it back and out of the way. You're gonna make sure that your stuffing's all the way to the end. Flatten your paw out. Lay it so the paw is inside. Pretty side to pretty side, inside the body. Okay, there's your arc. Make sure that it's about 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch, lined up with this stitch line right here. Then you come over here and you make sure that the top is about 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch, that it's lined up with that one. You grab yourself a pin. You want to be way outside your stitch line. Pin your paw down. Come down in here. Ooh. Pin your paw down so it's not in your way. There you go. Oops, nope. Did not catch. There we go. All right, it's laying nice and flat. It's gonna go right across there. Back in a second. Okay, there we are, kids. We got our last paw tacked down. We're gonna pull all our pins because it's time to play origami to get all of these paws to fold into the center and out of your way. So paw origami, or pawagami if you want. I know I'm horrible. Okay, so the whole point here is we've got to get this mass to lay as flat as possible so that it doesn't catch on the needle head as it's sewing the outline all the way around. So you want all your squishy as much to the middle as possible. And I'm not gonna lie to you guys, if you sew, grab the sewing machine. This step is way more easier with a sewing machine. If you've never sewed before in your life and you don't own a sewing machine, then you know, embroidery machines can do this. But I promise you, on a sewing machine, this step is so much simpler. So we're gonna get it. You can tape the snot out of this, woo, and get it to lay flat that way. You can pin each paw down to the back and get it to lay flat that way. What I usually do is, if you've ever done any sort of Italian cooking, I make stuffy ravioli. So I start up here, way outside my stitch line, and I pin my back to my front up here. Then I come down to the bottom and I tug. Make sure everything's laying really flat, and I super tug. Okay, I stretch. And then I pin outside my stitch line right there. Then I come to one side, make sure that I'm as flat as I possibly can, and I use the tension of stretched fabric and pins way outside your stitch line. Then I do the other side. Again, every time I put down a pin, or get ready to put down a pin, I flatten out my ravioli. And I make sure that I am as close to the edge of my embroidery frame as possible. And I'm catching both layers of fabric and the stabilizer. Now we started at the top, so we've done 4 pins. We come back to the top and we pull Seriously, pull, pull, pull. And we do this corner up here, way outside your stitch line. Okay, now go to the opposite corner down at the bottom. Pull, 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 pull. Grab you a pin. Pin outside your stitch line. All right, now we're going to come over to this corner. Again, flatten, flatten, flatten as much as possible. Pull, 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 and you'll notice that my sheet of felt is getting a little deformed. That's on purpose, because all that tension is acting to hold my stuffed arms down. Now we go to the opposite corner. Pull, flatten, way outside my stitch line. Okay, now I'm going to come down here. I used probably about 12 pins total, alternating top, bottom, left, right, opposite corners, always pulling and smoothing, and you'll be amazed at how flat you can get your work by alternating. Ooh, that's too short of a pin. There we go. And I am sure some of you who have done 1,000 stuffies in the hoop have better, easier ways to do this. That's because you've experimented in a whole bunch of different ways to do it, and that's cool. Do it however you feel, but this is the way that works for me. Come here, you little bugger. There you go. All right. And see how flat I've actually gotten that? Okay. So now I'm going to throw it back in the machine, and it's going to do a double bean stitch. It's going to go around, boom, and then come back around here, attaching the front to the back, leaving a hole down here for turning and stuffing. Woohoo! Bear ravioli. Okay, so now we are going to pull our pins. And as soon as we get all 12 of our little pinsy-winsies out, we are going to unhoop this bad boy, and we are going to trim the excess fabric about 1/4 of an inch away from our seam line. And we're going to make sure that we clip our curves so that when we turn our bear inside out, he's got nice arcs. Here's the thing you want to look out for. Remember I told you we're going to leave a hole for turning? When you cut down here, you want to give yourself kind of a triangle of extra fabric to work with, because you're going to want to turn this bad boy inside, fold it in, so when you go to stitch his butt closed, you have fabric to work with. All right, again, ooh, bad angle, horrible. Okay, you can see what I'm doing. 1/8 of an inch to about 1/4 of an inch away from that seam line. Oh boy, this is a horrible angle to cut at. All right, we're coming down into this divot. Make sure that you clip so that when you turn, it folds out correctly. Ooh. I am not going to tell you how very hard it is to stay in camera and watch where you're cutting and what you're doing. And I don't know how those professionals do it. But we're all amateurs here, so you can go ahead and try this at home. Just have 911 on standby so that when you chop off that finger... Oh, wait a minute, we're not using a roto cutter, so personal damage at a minimum with just scissors. And I say that, and here in a minute I'm going to cut off a pinky or something. All right, we are excess cut away. Yay! Now for turning. All right, so basically what we're going to be doing is giving birth to our own bear through his butt. So grab a paw and pull it out. Grab another paw, pull it out. Now, just like turning pantyhose inside out, start working it down. Okay, reach your fingers in there, see if you can't find another paw. It's like paw turducken here. And another paw. Come here, paw. There you go. All right, so we got all of our paws sticking out, and we're slowly, like pantyhose, turning it inside out. Okay, now I'm gonna reach down with 2 fingers up the bum hole. Woohoo! And I'm gonna tickle his brain. All right, I'm gonna put my thumb here, and I'm gonna turn his brain like that, and boom. Ah, mangled bear. All right, tug on his appendages a little bit. Come up here, tug on his ear. All right, roll your seams out. Roll your seams out. Roll your seams out. Pull his brain out. Har, har, har. Roll your seams out. Yay, roll your seams out. Yay, there we go. There is an unstuffed Zombear. This is the point where you want to examine. Make sure that you have clipped, all of your jumps, all of your gnarly little bits sticking out. If you have not, before you stuff him, this is the time to make sure as you were going, you got all his little jumps taken care of. Because once you sew him, clipping jumps in 3D, so not fun. Come here. Come here. There you go. All right, no jumps there, no jumps there. You got a little bit of a loop right there. I'm gonna clip that loop off. Okay. No jumps, no jumps. All right, here's where you decide. Where in the zombie apocalypse is my bear? Now, are we at the start of the zombie apocalypse, where he's nice and full and chubby? Are we towards the end of the zombie apocalypse, where he's gone a while without brains? Okay, we'll be back in a minute. After I stuff him, you're just gonna shove stuffing up his butt, shove it all the way up into his brain, and then work this way. Make sure that you've got a nice even fullness going. All right, I decided to go with medium stuffing on my Zombear. So Yogi caught Boo Boo, but Ranger Rick got away because Ranger Rick had a hot date to shoot Shane in the face because Shane had been messing around in Lori's picnic basket. Ha ha ha. A little Walking Dead humor for those of you who get it. So now I've got him stuffed. It's time to turn my tabs in. You'll notice that this stitch line right here shows. That helps you turn this guy with the proper arc, and you're just going to tuck your fabric in so that that arc is just barely on the inside of the turn. If you push your stuffing all the way out of the way, and remember, once we get this guy done, we can roll him and move your stuffing around a little bit. We're going to take this back flap and we're going to turn it inside as well, and we're going to line up the front arc and the back arc, tucking in and making sure that seam's just to the inside so it doesn't show. And we're going to take some pins and we're going to pin his butt shut. There we go. Come over here to the far side, make sure you got it tucked in and your folds are meeting nice and even. Shove a pin through his butt. There you go. Come over here, do this side, make sure your arcs are matching, that your stitch lines turn to the inside. There we go. Grab a pin, shove it through, boom. All right, now you're going to take some needle and thread, and you are going to, you can do a ladder stitch, you can do a whip stitch, and you're going to stitch his butt closed all the way across here. And I have already got a Zombear done, so that you don't have to wait for me to stitch his butt. And you'll see my sad whip stitch there. And there he is. All done. Ooh, brains. Hope you enjoyed the tutorial. I hope it made it easier for you to do Zombear. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel, join our fan group on Facebook, like me on Pinterest, pin me on, I guess it's pin me on Pinterest, like me on Instagram, follow me around the internet as I go crazy. Bye!